The second question is, does gamification stimulate intrinsic motivation or extrinsic motivation? Theoretical because it lacks a practical side. Frankly, the practical aspect is significant, so we need suitable questions. Does gamification stimulate intrinsic or extrinsic motivation? It stimulates both. Education often relies on extrinsic motivation through reward, but intrinsic motivation can be encouraged with meaningful gamification design, providing feedback and guidance. As a teacher, incorporating game elements enhances both motivations. Content that increases in difficulty creates motivation, starting easy and progressing. This approach allows learning through trial and error, applying skills to new situations, mastering learning, and advancing stages. I won't go too deep because we need to focus on the practical side. If I, as a professor, were to introduce gamification elements into my scientific material, I would also increase the internal motivation in addition to the external motivation, and also through the content that increases in difficulty. That is, here within the content, my content starts out easy and then gradually increases in difficulty and so on, in order to create a kind of motivation for the student. Also, this approach allows the student to learn through trial and error, applying their skills and knowledge to new situations. They become capable of mastering their learning and moving from one stage to another, from one level to another. Don't want to go on too much about this because we need to get into the practical side. The practical side. Honestly, this is one of the things quickly applied using mobile apps. These are popular applications and websites in education, and we will use some today and hopefully even better ones. There are applications focusing on gamification platforms. Many gamification platforms worldwide are still in design and testing, meaning they are still being developed. I don't want to dwell too much on theory, but I want you to take away two important pieces of information today. Gamification enhances the educational process by increasing motivation, engagement, and capturing attention. By incorporating game elements into education, I can change the perception of boredom. It's valuable to use a platform for gamification applications, and many platforms are still in design and testing. I want you to take away two important pieces of information. Gamification enhances education by increasing motivation and engagement. By incorporating game elements into education, I can change the perception of boredom. Dr. Sami, you mentioned gamification is still being developed. Yes, there's a lot of work being done. It's based on gamification in the educational process, which is centered around an important need: increasing motivation, engagement, and capturing the student's attention. If I add the elements that games are built on into my lessons, I can change the boredom the student finds because they see content that lacks challenge and motivation. So, Dr. Sami, you mentioned that the gamification process is still being worked on and developed. Yes, they are still developing it, and there are many websites and applications currently in use that we can utilize effectively in teaching. The boredom that we used to see, or the student feels bored because they see content that lacks challenge, motivation, and drive. So Dr. Sami, you mentioned at the end of the last slide that the gamification process is still being worked on and developed. Yes, they are still developing it, and there are many websites and applications currently in use that we can utilize effectively in educational processes. All right, everyone, is there any question or anything unclear in the theoretical part before we start getting into the practical side? If everything is clear, please press 1. There are a lot of websites and many applications currently in use that we can utilize effectively in educational processes. All right, everyone, is there any question or anything unclear in the theoretical part before we start getting into the practical side? If everything is clear, please press 1. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask. Doctor, it's clear. All right, Dr. Khalid, understood. All right, may God bless you all. Dr. Allah, all right, may God bless you. Let's start with God's blessing on the practical side. We have an extremely large collection of applications, indeed more than 50 applications in the field of games. But I mean, most of them, I don't want to say 88% of them are suitable for general education, actually, meaning pre-university education. Let's be clear with each other here. Because, excuse me, as a university professor, I can't just put you in this course. I can't just put you in this course. All right, I've enabled the audio for you. The e-learning administration usually mutes the audio, especially when there are large numbers in the course, to avoid any issues. I've opened the audio for you. If anyone wants to speak, please go ahead. Does anyone have any questions? I've opened the audio for you. Does anyone have any questions? Dr. Ali Mahmoud, I've opened the audio for you. All right. God bless you. Let's start the part 10 of lesson 8. ISIS is our time. It isn't logical to do an e-learning course on gamification and then present Kahoot or Other programs used in general education below university level. We need applications and to see where the world has reached in higher education. There are better platforms than the ones used in general education, but they're not at university level, though good. For instance, I will send you a collection of websites, a site to check at your leisure. We need applications, and let's see where the world has reached in higher education. For example, there are better platforms than the applications used in general education, but I still consider them to be at a level that doesn't compare to university education, yet they are good. Like, for instance, I'm going to send you a collection of websites. This is a site you can check out at your leisure. You can check out this site at your leisure. This site, I call it Profs. And they use this for motivating the student. There's something called Brain, which is really cool. Brain tester. There is something called a puzzle, where you put some answers in the puzzle method in the games and such. But I also consider it to be suitable for high school students and middle school students, and it's better than other platforms, but I still see it as below the level of university education. Also, I'm going to quickly show you about 3 minutes of the most important websites. There's a site called Edency, which is a really great site for gamification. There is gym training, and they use it in a very large marketing process, advertising and large companies. And it is very successful in the date process, and also in some universities and some schools that use it in the development process will also send you something. It will also be with you to look at. Look, it might be something that people will find comfortable with and say, by God, this is useful and good. There is no problem with it. There is also a site I opened the site on the same page as the virtual classroom. So I accidentally closed the virtual classroom. I apologize for that. Let me share the screen with you again. I'm always keen to check on everything. No, it's fine. I'll share the screen with you again. All right, the screen is shared with you now. And the sound should be working. This is also one of the sites. There's the site as well. Quickly, there's a very popular site. Most of the brothers in educational operations use it. They call it World Wall and the Sun, and the Sun, and the Sun. This site also has people telling you, by God, this is very good. It is a drawing and very nice. It has many teaching methods, many playful methods that I can use with the students as well. But I see it as a limit because, of course, it has, frankly, very good things. But I also see that it is below the university level. I will also send you his link. As well, I mean, I don't want to add more. I mean, these are the most important sites that I see as being famous or in the subject of gamification. On another site, I mean, I don't want to add more because it just wastes time. So I estimated for you about, there are 3 or 4 very popular sites in the field of education, aside from Kahoot and many other similar ones. So today, we're going to focus on 2 platforms. Yes, of course, we're all teachers, and we're going to focus on platforms that have a ranking. The first platform we're going to work on is ranked number 1 in the world this year.